So we are at Deep Tech Summit 2025, and now we have with us Benjamin Rombaut, the winner of DTS Awards in Green Economy. Benjamin, مرحبا بك in Morocco World News.
شكرا بزاف أيمن. Thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome.
Sand to Green. How did the idea first come about?
So Sand to Green started with like the IPCC stating in the reports that we need to shift our agriculture to be more resilient to climate change, but also to use this sector to capture carbon at scale. And when we were looking at it with my two associates, my two co-founders, we were like, okay, but how do we do that? There is no tools to do that. And this is how we came up with the idea of building the right tools to help this transition from conventional agriculture to regenerative agriculture.
Did you spot a underserved gap in the market?
Yeah, definitely. So when scientific are saying that we're gonna have a shift from one model to another, when markets are saying the same because they expect huge investments in regenerative agriculture. Not only market but also companies are taking a lot of commitments for regen ag. But when you're looking at it, there is no tool to facilitate this transition. And so we were like looking at it and saying, okay, so there is something to be done over there. And this is how we came up with the idea of Sand to Green. We first started by being farmers ourselves to test the different protocols. Then we continued by being like consultants. So we helped other companies to transition from a conventional model to regenerative agriculture. And in the same time, we developed this deep tech tool to allow anyone to help the transition without having to call Sand to Green. They can just use the software and facilitate the transition.
What setbacks did you face early on?
When you're starting on an all new market, because regenerative agriculture is like only a few years old as a sector. But when you start on this, it's always complicated to make sure people understand what you do. Also, we developed some AI model and machine learning, but when you don't have that much data, it's quite complicated to train those models. So one of the big challenge was really to access all those data. And this is one of the reasons we started by being farmers and being consultants, so we can gather all those data to be able to train the models.
What's your strategy for scaling up?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So our next step is really to equip most of companies, agronomists, cooperative with the tools that we've developed. And this is one of our main challenges, is really to not only understand fully the market, but also be able to reach those actors into the market. And this is one of the reasons we are working with some partnerships such as OCP that has a huge network across Africa and is helping us to access those rights partners into the continent.
Are you targeting expansion across the continent?
We already abroad. We already working in Namibia, Mauritania, Senegal, Morocco, Tunisia, and Spain. But we are targeting mainly the African continent. Why? Because most of the food and beverage companies that are based in Europe have a supply chain here in the continent. And they want to make this transition towards regenerative agriculture. But it's quite hard for them because they are quite far from this supply chain. And most of the time it's really a lot of smallholder farmers. For instance, one of the big company want to shift its cocoa supply chain, but they have 160,000 smallholder farmers within this cocoa supply chain. They cannot send agronomists to each field, so they're using our tool to be able to assess the farm and automatically get the recommendation to put the practice in the farm.
How do you see Agritech evolving in Africa?
I'm sure it's going to be booming in the years to come for two main reasons. First, there is a booming population in this continent, and you need to feed these people. Like you cannot do otherwise. And second, on opposite to other continents, there is a huge catch-up to be done by the Agritech. And what is good is like for regenerative agriculture, it's quite complicated to implement it in Europe because there is a lot of mechanization, so they heavily depend on the investments they've been doing. But in Europe, Africa, if you're looking at the farmers, it's quite easy to make the transition. Why? Because this is smaller the farmers and they don't have those investment into mechanization. So it's way more easier to work on this continent for regenerative agriculture.
So you moved from Lille and Paris to Morocco. How has the experience been so far?
So cool, really. I'm gonna be honest with you. I came here in Morocco because one of my investors told me, like, Ben, I think you should go there because you need to be close to the market, you need to be close to the end consumer and so on. And I was, okay, I don't really want to move. And it's been 2 years I'm here now. And it's been an amazing time. Not only like Moroccan people are so welcoming, but this is also a very beautiful country with such a good train. Like really, the country is booming. Everything is developing so fast, and especially for startups. So I'm like so happy with the move. I think I'm not gonna move back to Europe.
From the cold north of France to the heat of southern Morocco, how was the transition?
Transition was quite easy because Moroccan people make it easy. They welcome you in the families. I've been doing the tour with them. I also, and no, I mean was quite easy. First, okay, maybe the main difficulty for me was Wi-Fi connection. You don't have Wi-Fi connection everywhere as you can have.
Especially if you stay in the villages.
Yeah, exactly. I was living in the south. I was living next to Gulmim in a small village called City.
Fiber optic in there.
Yeah, definitely. Let's give a message to the region. Put the fiber optic over there, please.
So thank you very much. That was all. Thank you.
Shukran bizaf.
Thank you very much.